Welcome to the 2024 Knox County Candidate Forum. I'm John Garlock, news anchor for KTVO News in Kirksville, Missouri, and I will be moderating tonight's forum. This forum is being held at the Knox County Community Center in Edina, Missouri on Wednesday, July 31st, and broadcast live on Hometown Radio Group 100.5 KMEM FM. This forum was organized by the Edina Sentinel weekly newspaper editor Echo Menges with support from KMEM News and KTVO News. The forum is expected to last between 60 and 90 minutes with a 10-minute break in the middle. Each candidate will be given up to 2 minutes to answer each question. Candidates are not required to fill that entire 2 minutes. All participating candidates will also be given 1 minute at the end of the forum to speak freely. There are 4 contested county-level races this year in Knox County. Multiple candidates are running for the offices of Eastern District Commissioner, Western District Commissioner, Sheriff, and Coroner. To determine the starting order of the questions, each group of candidates has pulled a card, with the order being determined by the lowest card going first and the highest card going last. Before we get started, I would like to ask the candidates and the audience in attendance to please silence any cell phones and to hold any applause until the forum is over. Knox County candidates present for the forum are Wayne Rudd, Eastern District Commission candidate on the Republican ticket; Republican John Greenlee, Eastern District Commission candidate; Harley Hamlin, Eastern District Commission candidate on the Republican ticket; Luther Green, Republican and incumbent Western District Commission candidate; Bill Wiles, Western District Commission candidate on the Republican ticket; Western District Commission candidate Republican George Sparks; Republican David Sharp, Western District Commission candidate; Jesse Sparks II, Sheriff's candidate on the Republican ticket; Carl Kanaki, Sheriff candidate, Republican and incumbent; and Quentin Dalton, Independent Sheriff's candidate. We will begin with the questions for all candidates. We will start on the left and move across to the right. First question being answered by Wayne Rudd, Eastern District Commission candidate. What motivated you to run for this position?
Well, I've lived in Knox County all my life, and I just always thought I'd like to get involved more.
All right, next question is, the next question is for the next candidate, John Greenlee. Same question, Eastern District Commission candidate John Greenlee. What motivated you to run for the position?
I also have lived here my entire life. I see there's a lot of room for improvement across the county. I've had that conversation with many citizens across the county, and I'd like to do what I can to make that possible.
Next up, Harley Hamlin, Eastern District Commissioner candidate. What motivated you to run for the position?
I've thought about this for several years and finally decided to do it. And I got some experience in carrying mail for 30 years and dodging potholes, and I want to try to get something done.
Western District Commissioner candidate Luther Green. What motivated you to run for the position?
I've lived here all my life, so and I've done the same thing as them guys. I wanted to get the roads built up a little better and different things throughout the county, build the lakes up, get that for the community around here. And it's just, we've been doing a great job at it. I want to keep going the way it is.
Bill Wiles, Western District Commissioner candidate. What motivated you to run for this position?
Many different reasons, actually. I had not lived here my whole life. I've lived here 20 years, so most of my adult life, but I've been in service for the last 20 years in this community in many different volunteer organizations, and I always think that there's room for improvement and that there is room for growth in all aspects, and so I just decided that I thought I'd take my shot.
George Sparks, Western District Commission candidate. What motivated you to run for this position?
My name is George Sparks, and what motivated me to run for this position was that over the years past, the rural has not been represented very well on the commission, and I'm a rural candidate, and I have to drive the roads and see the roads and bridges, and I've also been a volunteer for the 4-H, and I know the community real well, and I think I can do the community a good job. I
Western District Commission candidate David Sharp, what motivated you to run for the position?
Well, my name's David Sharp. I have been a lifelong resident of Knox County. My parents, my grandparents were lifelong residents of Knox County. They were business people, they were farmers. My roots run extremely deep right here where we're sitting. I have basically done a lot of jobs that are public service jobs all my life, or at least the last 40 years. I spent 34 and a half years working in a factory in Kirksville called Adair Foods, Kraft Heinz. I've learned an awful lot in that place. I learned a lot about how to deal with people, how to get along with people, how to work through and with people. The other thing that I've done is I have been proudly a sports writer for 34 years or close to it for the Edina Sentinel. And now I work for Nemo News Media Group, which is the parent company of the Edina Sentinel. I look over in the corner and I see Corey Stott, who is the sports director of KMEM Radio. I worked for KMEM as a sportscaster. This will be 27 years. So, you know, when you have that much experience, what does that really mean? It means you're old, right? But at any rate, I would love to be able to serve the public. I think I have a degree in political science, I have a degree in business administration. There are a lot of things that I feel like I could do to help the legislative process, and I humbly ask for your vote and the votes of the remaining residents of Knox County for Western District Commissioner.
Knox County Sheriff candidate Jesse J. Sparks II, what motivated you to run for this position?
So I've only, my name is Jesse Sparks. I've only been in this county for just a little over 3 years now. After a lot of residents figured out that I used to run for law enforcement, they wanted me to run this year anyway, prior to the last sheriff's leaving. I have really good people skills. I've always worked with people growing up since I was 18 years old. I'm 34 now, so pretty young, I guess. My first job, I worked at Lewis County for a few years there as a corrections officer, and then slowly just moved up the ranks. I've learned a lot of things inside and outside of the jail, and also being a road deputy for Monroe County. Just people skills is this job, and a lot of people like just to be able to approach you and talk to you without feeling scared, so that's another reason why I'm running for it.
Knox County Sheriff candidate Carl Kanaki, what motivated you to run for the position?
My motivation for this position started many years ago. I went missing when I was a small child on my grandparents' farm north of Knox City. And my grandparents had to call the law, and here comes Sheriff Mike. I had fallen asleep in a county maintainer across the road that MoDOT was using. And everybody knows Sheriff Kite was a small man. He wasn't very big. He was the biggest man with that star on his chest that I had ever seen. And I'll never forget the words. He says, "Young man, you do not know how happy you have made me." And at that moment, I always wanted to be like Sheriff Mike. And through my I've got 14 years of continuous full-time on the road law enforcement experience. Through my time, my training, my experience led me to run for Knox County Sheriff a year and a half ago when this county needed sheriff. And I have brought the department to what it is today. That was my motivation to take this office.
And last but not least, independent sheriff candidate Quentin Dalton, what motivated you to run for this position?
My name is Quentin Dalton, born and raised in Knox County, Missouri. One of the biggest factors is I just have a great passion for law enforcement and public service in general. I think it takes a very unique individual, first responders all across the line. I have a great deal of respect for all of them, and obviously a great deal of respect for these two as well. It's something that I've always loved doing, and something that I've always been good at.
All right, for our second question, we're going to go in reverse order. So, independent candidate for Sheriff Quentin Dalton, we're going to start with you on this one. Can you provide examples of past leadership experiences that have prepared you for this role?
Throughout my law enforcement career, I was a road officer for approximately 8 years. Throughout that time, I trained several new officers as an FTO, field training officer. The last 4 years of my career, I was a state investigator for the Missouri Attorney General and led many criminal cases throughout that time. Since that time, I've been a business owner and taken on a lot of administrative and leadership duties that has really taught me a lot about myself as a person as well as my professional level.
Sheriff candidate Carl Kanaki, can you provide examples of past leadership experiences that have prepared you for this role?
I can. It's a good question. My law enforcement career began with the Knox County Sheriff's Office back in 2012 as a deputy sheriff in the Sheriff Goodhouse. I learned how this county agency works. I learned this county and I learned its people. After 4 years, I accepted a position with the LaGrange Police Department. After 2.5 years, I climbed the ranks of chief, and I held that position for almost 5 years. During that time, I received government budgeting and learned the ins and outs of government operations, the different types of funds, the laws behind how those funds are spent. And I supervised a department of 5 people and dealt with administrative issues. And I held that position until I was appointed by the Knox County Commission as the Knox County Sheriff in March of 2023, and was ultimately elected by the people of Knox County to hold that term in April 2023. And I have held this position for the past 1.5 years.
Sheriff candidate Jesse Sparks, can you provide examples of past leadership experiences that have prepared you for this role?
Yeah, so I started working at Lewis County Jail, Lewis County Sheriff's Office in the jail district in 2008. I worked there for 2 years. I started, I think that was like number 12. I moved up to number 3 in the ranking board. So I taught a lot of people that side of the jail. After that, I moved to Marion County in 2011. Worked there for 6 years. And I started number 13 from there, and I worked my way up to number 3 there, from night shift to day shift. And they put me in charge for training on everything they had to do there. You had to put people in, fingerprint everybody, serve warrants, give bad news to inmates, which was never the good part. They helped with, I wasn't really gave the, how do I want to say it? Disciplinaries. I was always, the jail administrator always talked to me about it. And then in 2017, I started in Monroe County, and I worked there for 4 years. And again, I worked my way up to number 3. I actually started on day shift, stayed on day shift. But I helped with government grants, to get grants, help with training. And so I think through everything I have plenty of experience to help start again.
Moving now to Western District Commission candidate David Sharp, can you provide examples of past leadership experiences that have prepared you for this role?
Well, let me start by saying that I am a graduate of Knox County High School, and while I was going to high school, we had some great people who had in my graduating class who went on to do great things, and I was never called upon to be a leader there. I was one of the people that did what a lot of other folks said I should do, okay? I was a poster child, trust me, for the fact that can't vote before you're 18, okay? But at any rate, once I got into education, once I went to what is now Truman State University to become, a person with a degree in political science, I want you to know I am and was a conservative, okay? I always will be. But that's not a popular thing to be on a lot of college campuses, okay? Bottom line is I kind of was one of the few people who was conservative in college, went through that program, graduated a conservative too. I had to lead the other people to go through that experience, to not let the others beat them down, okay? Now, once I got into Kraft Heinz, that's where I learned to be a leader. I had several jobs, including a quality assurance technician, a finished product inspector. I had to lead people to be able to follow the specifications and put out safe food products when it wasn't always the easy thing for them to do. I had to do that without management authority. And honestly, that's where I think I started a path to becoming a leader, to where I could help lead people in this county to better things.
Western District Commission candidate George Sparks, can you provide us some examples of past leadership experiences that have prepared you for this role?
Well, first of all, I'm a parent, and I have 3 grandsons, and I'm a landowner. I've run about 100 cows and farm a little less than 800 acres. And I work a full-time job on the side pretty much all my life. And I've been a shooting sports coach and leader for 15-some years for the Knox County 4-H. And I helped the county 4-H with grants and stuff to get shooting sports equipment that provided kids the tools that they wouldn't have had without that grant. That we $27,000 grant for equipment. And I've also been on the fair board as a fair board vice president, also been on the 4-H council as council president, vice president. I've been a volunteer for 4-H, and I think that I'll do a good job for the county. I'm kind of nervous right now, but my father died when I was 17, and everybody said that I wouldn't be able to keep hold of the family farm, but I have. I still got it. It's bigger than it was, and I'm proud of that.
Western District Commission candidate Bill Wiles, can you provide us some examples of past leadership experiences that have prepared you for this role?
To begin with, I've always been kind of a leader in general. I've been employed as a manager of retail stores for probably the last 15 years. A few different ones where I've had to manage budgets as well as scheduling for people and hiring. And I was the assistant chief for the Hurdle Fire Department for the last 15 years. I've been a member of it for 20 years. But I think the biggest thing that probably prepared me to leave this county was happened a year ago. About a year and a half ago, I was appointed the emergency management director for this county by the commissioners. And there was a tornado in Marion. And I led the whole thing pretty much to try to keep it going and get it. I helped start the recovery team. I was there the night of, in charge of multiple fire departments, multiple ambulances. I've been told I did a good job. You always think you don't, but I've been told I did a good job, and that was a big reason why I decided to run. But that really showed me that I do have the leadership skills to do this job. I was on the city council of Hurdle for over 8 years. I've been the president and on the board of the 4th of July committee. I've been in the leadership role in the Knox County Rescue Squad. So I believe, though, that the tornado a year ago really showed me that I have what it takes to lead the county.
Western District Commission candidate Luther Green, can you provide us with some examples of leadership experiences from your past that have prepared you for this role?
I had several jobs over the years that I had a lot of management positions throughout the country and stuff, and taking care of several guys on different jobs. And I'm just, when we come out on it, so we come out with the best, so, and tell my employees, do what they need to do. And that's what you need to do in this job.
Eastern District Commission candidate Harley Hamlin, can you provide us some examples of past experiences that have helped prepare you for this role of leadership?
Yeah, I worked construction for 20 years and done all great work, and I worked for the county road district for 2 years, riding motor grader, and I did on the mayor, I don't know how long people do it. I'm ready to go.
Eastern District Commission candidate John Greenlee, can you provide us some examples of past leadership experiences that have prepared you for this role?
Well, in my younger years, I was involved in 4-H, FFA, NHS, various sports. I was officer for NHS, which is National Honor Society, FFA, and 4-H. Of course, for sports, I was always with the team, working together, trying to do what we can to be the best that we be. I've also been a farmer, raised up on a farm, my dad and 2 brothers, working together to make the best of what we have and provide for the future. And I think doing that and getting out and seeing the community, seeing what it needs, working as a team will help you achieve all that.
And last but not least, Eastern District Commission candidate Wayne Rudd, can you provide us some examples of past leadership experiences that have prepared you for this role?
Well, I've worked down to the city of LaBelle for 33 years. I've been city superintendent. I've worked with the Department of Natural Resources on water and wastewater. And I've dealt with a lot of people. And I just thought this would be a good opportunity to maybe help better this county. That's why I run.
All right, thank you, everyone. We're going to move now to questions for the commission candidates. So, Wayne Rudd, we're going to start with you and your Eastern District Commission candidate. First question, as a county commissioner, will you support future wind and solar projects building in Knox County? Please elaborate.
Yes, we've got some going in out here. I don't know that much about them, but I know they've got a bunch of them on Route 11 up in there. And some people like them, some people don't, so like I said, I don't know that much about them.
John Greeley, Eastern District Commissioner candidate. As a county commissioner, will you support future wind and solar projects building in Knox County? Please elaborate.
Well, I've heard a lot of feedback on that. I won't have to personally look at one out my front door. I know several people will. There's pros and cons to the situation. There's going to be a lot of money coming in the county from it. It needs to be managed properly, so it's distributed throughout the county for repairs and stuff like that. I've heard from various county commissioners from surrounding counties that we've had probably the best contract with the wind company, maybe statewide, maybe nationwide. I think that there's a need for them if the power itself is for here. But I'm not, in my own opinion, I don't think there's a thing to have. I can't tell anybody what to do on their own land, but we need to, if we continue to have more, we need to put our foot down and stand our ground and protect our county for whatever damages there are in the future, discuss it more, have more meetings about it, and stuff like that, to discuss what we need to do to protect ourselves from the situation.
Next up, Harley Hamlin, Eastern District Commission candidate. As a county commissioner, will you support future wind and solar project building in Knox County? Please elaborate.
I've heard pros and cons on both sides, and I'd have to check even more on it to figure out what I'm gonna do, because I don't know that much about it.
Luther Green, Western District Commission candidate. As a county commissioner, will you support wind and solar projects building in Knox County? Please elaborate.
I've had the pros and cons of all of it. I've got into this office right when the windmills were starting. I lost a lot of friends over the deal. It's just really a bad deal because we need industry in this county. We do not need the windmills. That's the way I feel about it. So, but we've got to have something in this county. So that we've got to have, or we have contracts in place right now. So when they come, which we can't stop them, but when they do come in, we have contracts to protect our roads for the county.
Western District Commission candidate Bill Wiles. As a county commissioner, will you support support future wind and solar project buildings in Knox County? Please elaborate.
Well, I believe that, kind of like Luther does actually, that there's something needed in our county to create more tax dollars. That's just the way it is, unfortunately, in our small community. I don't know if wind turbines are the right answer, but I also know that each case would have to be looked at individually. I believe that both residents that are for and against should be protected by our county regardless. Whether they want them or they don't want them, they should all be protected and they should all have their opinions heard. They should all be able to be part of that decision-making process. But as far as future ones, I think you'd have to look at it as a case-by-case basis. I believe that as of right now, there's not a lot that can be done other than to make sure that they uphold their end of the agreement that they've already signed. I would be very strict on making them agree or to abide by what has already been established, because it has been established as a very good road agreement.
Western District Commission candidate George Sparks. As a county commissioner, will you support future wind and solar projects building in Knox County? Please elaborate.
Well, as commissioner, the job is to provide what's best for the county. And I think that the county commissioner shouldn't be able to tell the landowners what they can do with their land. It's a personal preference. Some people like the windmills and some people don't. But it's really a zoning issue. If the county's going to be involved, just saying yea or nay. But the county could use all the business they can get. And I'm really not in favor of the windmills, but I'm guilty because, we signed my farm up for the windmill project footprint. And I feel that it's my personal preference to do that, and the reason why I did it was because we need the money, is why. And it shouldn't be my neighbors telling me what I can do with my land. If you want to build something on your land, you should be able to do it.
Western District Commission candidate David Sharp. As a county commissioner, will you support future wind and solar projects building in Knox County? Please elaborate.
Well, I said before that I am a conservative. I am a proud Republican. I'm a populist. I'm a Donald Trump supporter. I was a delegate to the Chillicothe Convention and cast a vote for Donald Trump. And anybody who knows me that's listening to this knows that if nothing else, I'm an honest man. I only know how to do things one way, and that's the honest way. So the honest answer to that question is, in one word, is no. I I do not support any further windmills or solar panels in this county. Now, I would not take actions to stop those of you who have already signed the contracts. That's water under the bridge as far as I'm concerned. But anything else, as far as I'm concerned, windmills and solar panels are outdated technology. And you should could produce clean energy much better with new generation nuclear power. And new generation nuclear power doesn't tear up the roads. New generation nuclear power does not possibly ruin productive farmland like a solar panel would. One more thing, and then I'll yield my time. I have yet to see one cow, anything but a blade of grass around a windmill. And I have gone clear over to King City covering events for the Edina Assembly. I've seen a lot of windmills. They keep talking about putting cattle around them. I want to see one. Bottom line is no, I would not. But, and one more quick thing.
Mr. Sharp, time's up, I'm sorry.
All right, we'll get you later. We'll get it later.
But good news, you get to keep talking because we got the next question for you for the commission candidates.
Thank you.
David Sharp, Western District Commission candidate. Is it a transparency issue if a commissioner, rather than the county clerk, keeps the commission meeting minutes? Why or why not?
Well, I'll tell you, from what I know about things from my political science degree, I do know that Congress, legislative bodies, normally have a separate person who is not a member of Congress keep the minutes. And to me, that's the way to go. If you can get somebody to do that, and I do believe we had somebody that capably did it at one time, and yeah, I would most assuredly prefer. Okay, I know how to interview people. I know how to get stories. You do, both of you do too, as journalists. But I don't think that we need to make the news. Okay? I think somebody else should be keeping those minutes. And if I'm elected, I will do everything I can to make sure that happens. Thank you. I yield back my time.
Question number 2 for George Sparks, Western District Commission candidate. Is it a transparency issue if a commissioner, rather than the county clerk, keeps the commission meeting minutes? Why or why not?
I think there should be the clerk taking the minutes. And I think it should be transparent, and I think it should be honest and straightforward, exactly what was said. And that's all I got to say.
Question number 2 for Bill Wiles, Western District Commission candidate. Is it a transparency issue if a commissioner, rather than the county clerk, keeps the commission meeting minutes? Why or why not?
Yes, that's very easy to me. I believe it is a transparency issue. I believe that the way that it had been done for years was way better than the way it's being done now. I believe that would be one of my main priorities, one of the big things I really think needs change. When you just look back, if you read the paper, if you look back the way it was before, you were getting 10 times the amount of information you were getting now out of the commissioner's office. I believe that in that office, it should be completely transparent, and that everyone in our community should know everything that is going on. It is their tax dollars, it's their everything. They should know exactly what is going on in the commissioner's office, and as of right now, it is not that way.
Question number 2, going now to Luther Green, Western District Commission candidate. Is it a transparency issue if a commissioner, rather than the county clerk, keeps the commission meeting minutes? Why or why not?
I think the clerk ought to keep the minutes, but I think Mayor does. And everything that's going on in the office is being said and being recorded. So there's nothing being hidden, but I still think the clerk ought to hold it or keep the minutes.
Question number 2 now for Harley Hamlin, Eastern District Commission candidate. Is it a transparency issue if a commissioner rather than the county clerk keeps the commission meeting minutes? Why or why not?
I think that people ought to hear more about what's going on and to let the clerk let the minutes out, because you don't know nothing what's in the paper, you know.
Question number 2 now for John Greenlee, Eastern District Commission candidate. Is it a transparency issue if a commissioner rather than the county clerk keeps the commission meeting minutes? Why or why not?
I agree with the past candidates. I think the county clerk should be the one keeping the minutes, recording the minutes. That way, if for any reason one of the commissioners is not there, there's always somebody there to do it. I also think the Sentinel carries an article in the paper for the minutes. I also think that there should be maybe a Facebook group that shares information that way. A lot of people are on Facebook anymore. Get a lot of information from there. We need to get the word out, maybe advertise it some, let everybody know what's going on, and make sure the public knows that the meetings are open to the public and so they can voice their concerns.
And the final commissioner candidate to answer question number 2 is Wayne Rudd, Eastern District Commission candidate. Is it a transparency issue if the commissioner rather than the county clerk keeps the commission meeting minutes? Why or why not?
I think the county clerk should keep the minutes. It ought to be open more to the public instead of, I don't know why it got changed. Somebody trying to hide something or what. The county clerk ought to have to take care of the minutes and then like put more stuff in the paper. I think that's the way it should be.
All right, we're moving now to question number 3 for the commission candidates. And the third question goes to you first, Wayne Rudd, Eastern District Commission candidate. Do you feel the county's response to the Bering tornado was adequate? Why or why not?
Yes, I think the county done a fine job over there. All I've heard about it, how they did. Otherwise, he was a great help.
John Greenlee, Eastern District Commissioner candidate. Do you feel the county's response to the Bering tornado was adequate? Why or why not?
Yes, it's amazing what that community did, to rebuild as fast as they did. Several people I've talked to from Bering said that one of the commissioners was there within an hour, seeing if they needed help with any issues or assistance or what they needed to do to help the community. I know a lot of people donated household goods and stuff to help them rebuild, and I'm glad to see that it's the shape that it's in.
Eastern District Commission candidate Harley Hamlin, question number 3 for you. Do you feel the county's response to the Bering tornado was adequate? Why or why not?
I think it was plenty, you know, they went over there, I don't know what the motor director worked, and they saw all rock and everything, so I think they did a good job.
Question number 3 for Luther Green, Western District Commission candidate. Do you feel the county's response to the Bering tornado was adequate? Why or why not?
I was unfortunate enough not to be in the county at the time. I was in St. Louis, down for 3 days after it happened. I wish I could have been here, but we did get in on it and get stuff over the quicker we could.
Question number 3 for Bill Wiles, Western District Commission candidate. Do you feel the county's response to the Bering tornado was adequate? Why or why not?
It's a difficult question. As the only one up here, I believe, what, Carl, that was there, no, it'd be my answer. When the tornado happened, of course, I was there because I'm a first responder first, and then when we realized exactly what was going on, I had to change positions and into more of the emergency management. The Eastern District Commissioner was there within an hour. The presiding commissioner was in Edina, and he helped some. And that immediate response, I would say they were there. There's some people there. there for assistance. After that, there was not much help from the county. The county debated, the county couldn't come to a decision on a lot of things very quickly. They drug their feet. And in my perspective, on the side I was on at the time, time was of the essence. There's things that are time sensitive when you can have volunteers and you have people's needs that are really needs, not just wants or they think they need it. People need things when stuff like this happens. That could have been done a lot quicker, a lot easier if I would have had a little more assistance from the county. But they wanted to delay in any way they could, it felt like at times. They tried, but I don't think they were successful.
Question number 3 for George Sparks, Western District Commission candidate. Do you think that the county's response to the Berry tornado was adequate? Why or why not?
Well, I didn't get in on it too much because, as some of you know, I'm a tree trimmer for a company that works for Ameren, and I deal with a lot of storm cleanup and power outages all over the state. And for about 10 or 15 days right in there, I was quite busy, gone working in other towns that had damage. But from what I hear from the residents of Barron, I'm knocking on doors and talking to people that it could have been much better.
And question number 3 now for David Sharp, Western District Commission candidate. Do you feel the county's response to the Berry tornado was adequate? Why or why not?
Well, first of all, I was not a commissioner during that time. I was a private citizen. I was not in the community when the tornado came. I didn't even know it was supposed to rain that day, let alone anything else. But at any rate, just very briefly, I do believe that people, especially the people in the rural fire departments, the members of the commission who did get there, and I do believe that Mr. Wiles did a great job as an emergency manager. However, this is one thing that people have to realize. The county's response only goes usually to a certain period of time. After that, now we get into the state emergency management, we get into the federal emergency management. The long term, ladies and gentlemen, and tell me if I'm wrong, the long-term response is a state and federal matter. People have to try and realize, and I realize that there is a difference between local, state, and federal issues. A huge difference. And we will take care of the local amount, and whoever the emergency manager is at that time, and whoever the commission is at the time, will ask for people like FEMA and things like that, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, to come in and deal with that. So right now, I don't think it's a county issue at all. I think it's a federal and state issue. I yield back my time.
Thank you, Commissioner candidates, for your answers to the questions thus far. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. We're continuing now with the 2024 Knox County Candidate Forum in Edina. I'm John Garlock, news anchor for KTVO Television in Kirksville, and I'm moderating tonight's forum. This forum was organized by the Edina Sentinel weekly newspaper editor Echo Menges with support from KMEM News and KTVO Television. We are moving now to the sheriff candidates, and we have a series of questions for them. Jesse Sparks, sheriff candidate on the Republican ticket, will be the first to answer question number 1, and that is, how will you work to improve public safety and reduce crime in our community?
Well, so the first thing I do is just basically sit back and observe everything, take everybody's intake. You just gotta be a sponge and absorb what everybody's telling you. Where the drugs are at. I know there's a few places south that are moving on pretty good. You just gotta observe, listen. I'm not here to like push a badge around and just sit back and observe. And then after that, we'll kind of go from there. You just gotta play it day by day and see what everything brings to you. Other than that, you just can't go out and force something to happen, and it never happens the way you think it will.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. Question number 1 now for Carl Kanaki, Republican Sheriff candidate. How will you work to improve public safety and reduce crime in our community?
My office will continue on the track that we've been on for the past year and a half. We currently are in the process now of receiving tasers, receiving a quality body cam system to make us more accountable, to hold us all more accountable, make us all safer in the county. My ties with surrounding sheriffs, surrounding police departments, I currently sit on the North Missouri Drug Task Force Board. We, the sheriffs, the task force, police departments, we're constantly speaking, texting, talking about the crime trends around the county. And we will continue the proactive approach that we have took to law enforcement in the past year and a half moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Kanaki. We're moving now to independent sheriff candidate Quentin Dalton with question number 1. How will you work to improve public safety and reduce crime in our community?
I would like to see the office more involved with the community. There's a great resource there. Everyone would be greatly surprised in my past experience in community policing. Law enforcement was able to gain a wealth of knowledge just by interacting with the community, as well as working side by side with surrounding agencies, all the local county agencies in Dare County, Scotland County, Lewis County, Shelby County, including the state. The office has a wealth of resources beyond what we can produce ourselves, and I think those are very important contributors.
All right, Mr. Dalton, thank you. And the question number 2 begins with you as well, and for Quentin Dalton, independent sheriff candidate. Do you think the current rate of $21 per hour is a fair wage for Knox County deputies? Why or why not?
I will be honest with you. I don't think that you can set a wage on someone that is willing to come to work every day and put their life on the line. I don't think that you can set that precedent at all. When I started out in law enforcement, I'll be honest with you, I started out at $10 an hour, and a lot of people would think that's crazy, and it is crazy. But I honestly don't think that is my personal opinion currently enough. But again, I don't think there's any price that we can put on that.
Carl Kanaki, Republican candidate for sheriff of Knox County. Do you think the current rate of $21 per hour is a fair wage for Knox County deputies? Why or why not?
The current wage of $21 an hour keeps us competitive with surrounding agencies. And after I took office a year and a half ago, I talked to many of the local agencies to find out what we were paying so that we could be competitive and attract quality deputies, and I have done that in my tenure. We outpay a lot of our surrounding areas. As sheriff, and through my prior experience, I know what our budget downfalls are in this county. I know the necessities that this county has, and I know what I can pay a deputy and still maintain this office as I have. So at this time, yes, $21 an hour is a fair price.
Thank you, Mr. Kanaki. Question number 2 now for Jesse Sparks, Republican sheriff candidate. Do you think the current rate of $21 per hour is a fair wage for Knox County deputies? Why or why not?
I honestly do. I did not realize it was $21. That's actually really good for the community. Knox County is not a huge community. There's not a lot of income coming into it, so for them to actually get that, that's actually really impressive for our area. So I do think that. I'm actually shocked at this $21. I was in Monroe County. I worked for 5 years. I think I was making like $15 or $16 an hour, and then we had a supplement salary that took me like 18. So for the Knox County, that 21, I think that's really good, honestly. I think. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. And question number 3 now for the sheriff's candidates goes to you, Jesse Sparks, Republican candidate for sheriff. What is your approach to addressing the opioid crisis and other drug-related issues in Knox County?
The sheriff's office has to listen to the community. I know everybody tries to do their own thing, but the community is a big part of the sheriff's office. I know a lot of people are scared of cops just in general, just because of what they see on TV, but I'm sure everybody here is a really good guy. If you just come and approach us, we can talk. I work at the auto parts store. If you've seen me there, a lot of people come and just talk to me, just tell me. A lot of places where everything's happening right now, they're just like, all you gotta do is just sit there and watch it. They're doing it all day. It's just, you gotta listen to the community and then go off that. The community is the biggest part of law enforcement for any kind of county.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. Question number 3 now for Sheriff candidate Carl Kanaki. What is your approach to addressing the opioid crisis and other drug-related issues in Knox County?
We do not have, we are not having a ton of like overdoses. You know, we're not seeing that in our communities like others are. We're very fortunate. And I think that starts with education, you know, to our people. And this county's got great people in it. And we're not seeing that. And, you know, are there drugs here? Of course there's drugs here. You know, my office has made dozens of drug arrests since I took office a year and a half ago. We have active narcotics investigations, multiple going at all times. I hear from members of each community in our county constantly. My ties with the task force, once again, my relationships with surrounding sheriffs. A lot of times we have a lot of the same criminals that enter our communities. And we know what they drive, we know what they do, and we're on it. And people have to realize we have a certain way that we have to go about things following the law to ensure that we are making quality arrests to bring them before the prosecution and ultimately before the judge. And we have a certain process that we have to go by. And my experience has led us there, and I've proven that in a year and a half, and we will continue on the same track.
Thank you, Mr. Kanaki. Question number 3 for the sheriff candidates goes to Quentin Dalton, independent sheriff candidate. What is your approach to addressing the opioid crisis and other drug-related issues in Knox County?
I think to follow up a little bit, there's always going to be a drug problem in most communities, most every community. You can slow it down, you'll never stop it. It's, you know, you remove one, another one comes up. It's something that you never stop. You can certainly curb it. I would like to think that being more involved with the community and gathering information that they can relay to you, as well as I would like to see the sheriff's office more involved in the school setting too, in order to curb it throughout the schools.
All right, moving now to question number 4 for the sheriff's candidates, and actually that's going to go to you, Quentin Dalton, independent candidate for sheriff. What are your plans for collaborating with other law enforcement agencies and community organizations?
I think it's very important, as I said before, I think it's very important to retain good, healthy, working professional relationships with surrounding agencies, the counties surrounding us, as well as state law enforcement, and there are also other resources that we can utilize as well. You know, being in a small county, I know that there's not a great deal of resources, and I think being able to utilize the other agencies in order to benefit us is a great help.
Thank you for your answer to that. Question number 4 now for sheriff candidate Carl Kanaki. What are your plans for collaborating with other law enforcement agencies and community organizations?
As I mentioned before, I know members of each of our communities and speak to them regularly. They come into my office, they talk to me, and we get a lot of information from different parts of the county. And we have limited resources here, and we have to dissect and decide what we're going to focus our limited resources and our efforts on. And I've done that well in the past year and a half. As far as the collaboration, it's what I'm doing every day. I spoke to all of our surrounding sheriffs today. We talk weekly, we talk all the time about recent crime trends. I have a fantastic relationship with the Edina Police Department, all the surrounding sheriffs. I reach many sheriffs as far, even farther than counties that join our county. I have a great working relationship with the Missouri State Highway Patrol. We share information back and forth. I have a great working relationship with the federal and state level task forces, and we share information back and forth. I will once again continue what we've done the last year and a half.
Thank you, Mr. Kanaki. Question number 4 now for Jesse Sparks, Republican Sheriff candidate. What are your plans for collaborating with other law enforcement agencies and community organizations?
Just to continue doing it. I see highway patrol in town all the time. I've seen them make traffic stops just out on Highway 6. You got to keep a good relationship with everybody. Don't burn no bridges because everybody needs help all the time. Even Children's Division, we used to work with them quite a bit in Monroe County. They used to call us a lot. Just go local calls. You just respect everything you get, and like I said, you just help everybody when they ask you to help. If you need somebody to call them, but you got to keep the relationship with state and local everybody, just because one day you're going to need it.
Thank you, sir. Question number 5, and the final question for the sheriff's candidates tonight goes to Jesse Sparks, Republican candidate for sheriff. If I can read my writing. Should the sheriff and their deputies be required to use body cameras while on duty? Why or why not?
Oh yes, I am fully behind that. I've seen a lot of people when I worked in the jail. Obviously, there were still some cameras, but I've had jailers that I've worked with end up being arrested because they've done stuff with inmates. I think body cameras are a very good security to keep the officer accountable for what they're doing. And just in case anything happens, just in general, just if a civilian says this is how it went, and body cameras are a very good thing. I think a policy should definitely be in place for those. They are very, very, very important in today's law enforcement fields, all of them.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. Carl Kanaki, Republican candidate for sheriff. Question number 5 goes to you now. Should the sheriff and their deputies be required to use body cameras while on duty? Why or why not?
Yes. Those policies are in place at the Knox County Sheriff's Office. I currently am under contract with Axon for the purchase of tasers and body cameras. That will be here in September. We had body cameras before Sheriff Goodhouse began that, and they were unreliable, and they started causing us a lot of issues and was too much to replace. So I chose to go with Axon. Based on my prior administration, I know that they are a great company and provide a great product. Yes, they should, and we will as soon as we receive them. The deputies are already prepared for that transition. I am prepared for that transition, and it makes us accountable, it makes our citizens accountable. I have personally been in administration for over 7 years now, have yielded officer complaints, have worked and overseen many uses of force incidents, and body cameras have been pivotal in those investigations, and we will continue to move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Kanaki. And question number 5 goes to Quentin Dalton, now independent candidate for sheriff. Should the sheriff and their deputies be required to use body cameras while on duty? Why or why not?
I believe they should at all times. Body cameras are very resourceful, they're a very good tool. As both the other candidates said, they keep everyone accountable for their actions, including not limited to complaints and other situations.
Thank you, sir. That was the final questions for our sheriff's candidates tonight. We're going to go back to county commissioners and Mr. Sharp and David Sharp, Western District Commissioner candidate. We have 2 more questions for the commissioner candidates. The first one is, how would you handle a bullying complaint against another elected official?
Well, the first thing is I do realize that I don't know everything about what I'm maybe getting myself into, okay? I will have to read and pay attention in the training program that we'll go through in Jefferson City. And basically, I do believe that the commissioners would be some kind of a jury in a situation like that. And you just have to listen to both sides and try to weigh the law as best you can, and hopefully listen to the advice of the county's attorney, and basically use the judgment that the Lord gives us. I yield back the rest of my time.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. The question now goes to George Sparks, Western District Commission candidate. How would you handle a bullying complaint against another elected official?
Well, that's a tough question. I want to know the facts, and if I wasn't there, I wouldn't know what happened. So I really want to know what happened before I make any judgment. I wouldn't want to point the finger at anybody, because I've had people tell me stories before, and I've had other people tell me stories before, and I'm from Missouri, and you got to show me what happened, because I'm not going to judge somebody else on hearsay.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. The question now goes to Bill Wiles, Western District Commission candidate. How would you handle a bullying complaint against another elected official?
That's a tricky question. I believe that you would need to be impartial. So I would lean to probably somebody outside of the courthouse that should be looking into this matter, whether it be a lawyer or police department or a moderator of some sort. Our courthouse is a very small courthouse. There's not that many elected officials. There's going to be two sides to every story, and I would think that as the commissioner, you'd want to stay neutral so that the correct judgment is made by somebody that is from the outside and doesn't have any favoritism towards one or the other.
Thank you, Mr. Wiles. The question next goes to Luther Green, Western District Commission candidate. How would you handle a bullying complaint against another elected official?
We recently had this go on, and I don't know how to explain it. It's not a very nice subject, but it's being taken care of, but it's in a long process, so it's not, how do I put it? It's not nice, but we're trying to deal with it as best we can.
Thank you, Mr. Green. The question now goes to Harley Hamlin, the Eastern District Commission candidate. How would you handle a bullying complaint against another elected official?
I think we have to get somebody from outside and just knew exactly what's going on to check into it.
Thank you, Mr. Hamlin. The question next goes to John Greenlee, Eastern District Commission candidate. How would you handle a bullying complaint against another elected official?
Well, like everybody else has said, it's a tricky question. It kind of depends on how serious it is, I guess. You need to kind of get the whole story from both sides. Outside involvement needs to be done, we'll do that. It doesn't need to be rushed, and it needs to take its time and make sure everybody is accountable and looked after and protected, and so everybody's aware, so we know what's going on.
Thank you, Mr. Greenlee. The question now goes to Wayne Rudd, Eastern District Commission candidate. How would you handle a bullying complaint against another elected official?
Well, that is a tricky question. You need to get both sides, and then I suppose they turn it over to their attorney, you need to talk to him, and it's gonna be a long and all out affair. You don't wanna jump the gun and get in too big a hurry. You need to get figured out what happened and get the facts straight.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. The next and final question for the commissioners goes to you, Wayne Rudd, Eastern District Commission candidate. Do you see the Seaver Lake properties as assets to the community? And are there any improvements you would like to see made to the Herdland or Bering Seaver Lake properties?
Yes, they're an asset. A lot of people use them. I haven't been up to either one of them for several years, but a lot of people go up there and camp or whatever, fish and all that, and I think it's a good deal for the county.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. The question now goes to you, John Greenlee, Eastern District Commission candidate. Do you see the Seaver Lake properties as assets to the community, and are there any improvements you would like to see made to the Herdland or Bering Seaver Lake properties?
Yes, I do believe they're an asset. Anymore, there's a lot of people getting out for camping. I think we could utilize them and put in some camping spots. I've also been told by Ronnie Lepke that he had a grant in order for the cross-country track at the Bering Seaver Lake. I got in contact with the school, see if they want to participate in that for a cross-country team, and the school said no. I think that's a mistake. There's a lot of kids that have been wanting to do that. Be open to the public, the walking track, stuff like that. Maintain them a little better, make them more attractive, and make people want to come there instead of being nice, possibly, and just let everybody know and be fair to all, and stuff like that.
Thank you, Mr. Greenlee. Harley Hamlin, the question comes to you next, Eastern District Commission candidate. Do you see the Seaver Lake properties as assets to the community, and are there any improvements you would like to see made to the Herdland or Bering Seaver Lake properties?
Well, I think they're an asset to the community, and they need to keep doing what they're doing, because we need it.
Thank you, Mr. Hamlin. Luther Green, the question now comes to you, Western District Commission candidate. Do you see the Seaver Lake properties as assets to the community, and are there any improvements that you would like to see made to the Herdland or Bering Seaver Lake properties?
They are a great asset to the community and county, and we have been putting money into the Bering Lake and the Herdland Lake both with different things, and we're still planning on doing more, because we want the community to enjoy it. So we've got people from Kirksville, Iowa, Illinois, everywhere coming over, and they think it's a great little business.
Thank you, Mr. Green. The question next goes to Bill Wiles, Western District Commission candidate. Do you see the Seaver Lake properties as assets to the community, and are there any improvements that you would like to see made to the Herdland and Bering Seaver Lake properties?
Most definitely, I find it as an asset. I believe I would start by probably finishing the projects that have been set aside, the grant funds that have already been allocated to the county, and things that have been purchased by the county with those grant monies that still haven't been put in. I believe I would re-look back at maybe even a park, somebody to be over top of the Seaver Lakes. I believe that we had that at one time here in the past, and that the grants money that was being sought after and getting should have continued. I believe that the lakes are one of our biggest assets in our county and should still be growing bigger. The camping that has been started should be finished. The water lines that have been run should be finished. The picnic tables that were given by a grant that still aren't there, that are here but not installed, should be installed. We should not be trying to take money back from the lakes that we've already put into the lakes and already established as lake funds, and then take them back and try to use them somewhere else. I believe that's a mistake, and that we should start the process over again and begin to turn them into more of an asset for our county.
Thank you, Mr. Wiles. The question now goes to George Sparks, Western District Commission candidate. Do you see the Seaver Lake properties as assets to the community, and are there any improvements that you would like to see made to the Herdland or Bering Seaver Lake properties?
Well, the Herdland Lake is very dear to me, just a few miles from my home. And I ride my horse over there on occasion and just go to the lake and ride back. And I can see that we could have a few more camping spots, and there's a power issue. We need more electricity. The south side could have more electricity to the shelters. On the south side, over by the south shelter, where the road curves around like this, there's a big hole in the culvert that somebody could drive off in that needs to be fixed because it's deep. I mean, it needs to be fixed. I think that I haven't been over to Bering Lake, that Cedar Lake, for several years, but when we was kids, we had all kinds of meetings and camp outs and went fishing over there, and I think both lakes are dear to me, and that they should be taken very well care of, and we should.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. The question now moves to David Sharp, Western District Commission candidate. Do you see the Seaver Lake properties as assets to the community, and are there any improvements that you would like to see made to the Herdland, LeBaron, and Seaver Lake properties?
I absolutely believe that the Seaver Lakes are an asset to our community. I'm a sportsman. I fished a lot more in my youth than I have been lately, but at any rate, I am absolutely supportive of public fishing. I was not aware, honestly, of some of the grants that have been made for the Seaver Lakes. And one thing, if someone is the idea that they're going to take that grant money and repurpose it for something else, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. You have to use grant money, I do believe, for the purpose that the grant was issued for. Either that or you have to return that money to the source, and then you have to go back through the process that if you want to use that money for something else, you have to get that grant for that other purpose, rather than just saying, okay, I don't think they need this bench over here, so we need to put something else over here. That's not legal. So we need to follow the law. And like I said, I do believe that they are terrific assets, and I would be very supportive of anything that could be done to try to make it better. I yield back my time.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. We're going to move now to questions for all of the candidates at the table tonight. We're going to start with Mr. Kanaki. Since you got to go in the middle on all the questions, we're going to start with you on this one. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least knowledgeable and 10 being the most, please rate your knowledge of the Missouri Sunshine Law, Chapter 610 of the Missouri Revised Statutes, and explain how you will ensure transparency and accountability in your office.
I'm very familiar. There's always room for improvement. 8. I don't measure it that way. I'm familiar with the statute. I have, through my tenure as an administrator the past 7 years, I have received many sunshine requests and follow them with the law, not only through my successes, but failures as an administrator, and learn the hard way through those sunshine requests. So, no problem with the sunshine request. I'm ready for it at any time.
Thank you, Mr. Kanaki. The question now goes to Independent Sheriff Candidate Quentin Dalton. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least knowledgeable and 10 being the most, please rate your knowledge of the Missouri Sunshine Law, Chapter 610 of the Missouri Revised Statutes, and explain how you will ensure transparency and accountability in your office.
I would have to say I'm somewhere right in the middle, 5, 6. I'm familiar with the law. I don't know it to a T. I do know that there's some information you can provide and some you can't, and you just have to do the best that you can do in order to provide the information.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. The question now goes to Jesse Sparks, Republican candidate for Knox County Sheriff. On a scale of 1 to 10, and with 1 being the least knowledgeable and 10 being the most, please rate your knowledge of the Missouri Sunshine Law, Chapter 610 of the Missouri Revised Statutes, and explain how you will ensure transparency and accountability in your office.
Same way, I'm right in the middle, 5, 6. I know about it. Of course, just working, not dealing with the advisor part of it. I'm not very knowledgeable of it. I've been a part of the request and things like that. I know it's very important to take care of. You have a deadline, or so many days, as you know, to get the information to them. So yes, it's very important, and I'll follow it the best I can.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. Now we're moving to Western District Commissioner David Sharp. Do you need me to repeat the question, or can we just go?
Please do.
Okay.
Please repeat the question.
Sure. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least knowledgeable and 10 being the most, please rate your knowledge of the Missouri Sunshine Law, Chapter 610 of the Missouri Revised Statutes, and explain how you will ensure transparency and accountability in your office.
If there is anyone sitting at this table that should know a little something about the Sunshine Law, it's somebody that's been a reporter for 34 years. Okay? Now, that being said, my job is a sports writer. I normally do not make sunshine requests. I don't have to. However, I listen to conversations within my company, within my office. Right there, sitting at that table, I think is one of the best editors of any local newspaper in the state of Missouri. She critically needs that sunshine information in order to do her job, in order to tell the community what is going on in their government. I will pledge that I will not interfere, Echo, with your job in any way if I am elected. I will make myself available for interviews with you or any member of the media at any time. However, I will listen and pay attention during the training sessions that are required to become a commissioner. There are some things as far as debate especially if it's debate in a closed session, that is not proper to be disclosed to the public, okay? The Sunshine Law also covers that. So probably 8 or a 9 or something like that. I don't know the Sunshine Law as Echo does, but I fully support her and the media in implementing it. I yield back my time.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. The question now goes to George Sparks, Western District Commission candidate. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least knowledgeable, 10 being the most, please rate your knowledge of the Missouri Sunshine Law and explain how you will ensure transparency and accountability in your office.
Well, as a farm boy and a tree trimmer and a cattle farmer and a dad and a grandpa, I haven't had to deal with Sunshine Law a whole bunch, but I've got room to learn. And I'm not very knowledgeable on the Sunshine Law, but I have room to learn.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. The question now goes to Bill Wiles, Western District Commission candidate. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least knowledgeable, 10 being the most, please rate your knowledge of the Missouri Sunshine Law and explain how you will ensure transparency and accountability in your office.
I would say that I'm at probably a 5. I am familiar, being on Irvine City Council for 8 years. I've been in several different groups and organizations and had to deal with sorts of laws, sunshine laws, HIPAA, the whole gamut of the privacy issues. So I've been around it a little. I would strive to be completely transparent. I believe the Commissioner's office should be 100% at any chance, unless it's something that they're not allowed, should be transparent to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Wiles. Mr. Luther Green, Western District Commissioner candidate. The question now goes to you. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least knowledgeable and 10 being the most, please rate your knowledge of the Missouri Sunshine Law and explain how you will ensure transparency and accountability in your office.
5 to 6, and I believe transparency should be open to everybody, and even in the office, my office, it should be open to everybody. So I mean, you just gotta get that. So you gotta pay attention to what you're doing. So.
Thank you, Mr. Green. The question now goes to Harley Hamlin, Eastern District Commission candidate. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least knowledgeable and 10 being the most, please rate your knowledge of the Missouri Sunshine Law and explain how you will ensure transparency and accountability in your office.
I don't know much about the Sunshine Law, and if I get elected, I'll study it and find out. 5 months to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Hamlin. John Greenlee, Eastern District Commissioner candidate. The question now goes to you. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the least knowledgeable, 10 being the most, please rate your knowledge of the Missouri Sunshine Law and explain how you will ensure transparency and accountability in your office.
I'm not real familiar with it, probably 4 or 5. I can read on it and understand it more. I've heard of it, but I think the Commissioner office transparency for everybody to know what's going on, because it affects the whole county. We work for them, and the decisions we make affects everybody. So they need to know what's going on, and if they have a problem with it, they can come to us and express their concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Greenlee. And the final person to answer this question tonight, Wayne Rudd, Eastern District Commission candidate. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your knowledge of the Missouri Sunshine Law, and explain how you will ensure transparency and accountability in your office?
Probably a 4 or 5. I've heard about it, but I don't know that much about it, but I think in that office, we should learn more about it and be upfront with all people and whatever it takes to make it work.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. And we're going to move now to our final question of the night for all of the candidates. We're going to move back to the other end of the table. So Quentin Dalton, the independent sheriff candidate, will answer this question first. And that is, can you say something positive about your competition?
Sheriff Knox, Justice Sparks, I do not know anything about these individuals. I applaud them for being up on this stage. I have a great deal of respect for both of them. And wanting to do this job and lead in a capacity like this, I believe takes a lot of humility and humbleness. And I think that's probably the most important terms to
Thank you, Mr. Dalton. Mr. Carl Kanaki, sheriff candidate on the Republican ticket. Can you say something positive about your competition?
You gotta respect anybody willing to step up, put the badge on the chest and go to work. I don't know either of the gentlemen to my left or my right. I don't know nothing about them. I focus on myself and the job at hand. I'm sure they're great guys. I commend them for being a first responder.
Thank you, Mr. Kanaki. Jesse Sparks, Republican sheriff candidate. Can you say something positive about your competition?
So I don't know Mr. Dalton. I shook his hand. He seems like a nice guy. I don't know Carl personally. I do know him from LaGrange. I used to live in LaGrange. So I know he worked there. And then, I mean, it's a lot of respect for him. He walked into a nightmare here a year and a half ago, and took office. So that takes a lot to do. So I do give him respect for that. But I don't have anything negative to say about anybody on this panel or these two guys right here on my left. Not at all.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. We're going to move to the next candidate for the final question, David W. Sharp, Western District Commission candidate. Can you say something positive about your competition?
Of course I can. I know a lot of these guys. I know that the reason they filed for this job is the same as me. I thought I could do some things to make the commission better. I thought my knowledge of decorum in public service would help. I have been a competitor in sports for many years. I've been a sports writer and a sports broadcaster for more than 30 years. And I know one of the things, the biggest thing, is you've got to respect your opponents. These people are opponents. They are not my enemies. I did not vote. I did not file for this office against anyone. If you don't take anything else out of this room, I want you to take that out of it. I have nothing against these gentlemen. I think any one of them would do a great job. The only thing is I feel like that when you ask for somebody's vote, that's the most sacred thing that you can do as a citizen is to cast that ballot. And yes, I'm going to ask you to vote for David Sharp for your Western District Commissioner, but that is with the greatest amount of respect for the other people who are vying for the same job. Thank you. I yield back my time.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. And the question now moves to George Sparks, Western District Commission candidate. Can you say something positive about your competition?
Well, as a young man, I remember this guy next to me coming out to the farm selling welding supplies. He had a truck and he sold really good welding supplies. The equipment they had on the truck was very good quality. And we bought a lot of stuff from him. My Bill Wiles, I don't know real well, seen him down at Farm Home, seems to be a pretty nice guy, nice family, he's got a great wife. And Luther.
How long do we go back, Luther?
Yeah, Luther's a good guy. He's actually worked for us as a hired hand for a while, didn't he?
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. Question now goes to Bill Wiles, Western District Commission candidate. Can you say something positive about your competition?
Yeah, I don't know, like they said the same thing, I know them all the greatest, but I have a lot of respect for anybody who's willing to put their name on a ballot and to sit in front of you and answer questions. So I think that's very good. I've known Luther probably the longest, just kind of like them, he's always been there to help, and so I have nothing negative. I appreciate that you guys are all stepping up and taking, trying to take the responsibility to make our community better.
Thank you, Mr. Wiles. Luther Green, Western District Commission candidate. Can you say something positive about your competition?
I got 100% agreement with all of them. I mean, they're all good guys. I've known them all my life. Nothing wrong with them.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Harley Hamlin, Eastern District Commission candidate. Can you tell us something positive about your competition?
I've never had no dealings with them, but all I've heard is pretty good guys.
Thank you, Mr. Hamlin. John Greenlee, Eastern District Commissioner. Can you tell us something positive about your competition?
Well, when I was younger, my parents had Harley put in a basketball court for us, and it's still in one piece. My brother put some rocks in his boots, and he's always had that to me, as my younger brother. And as far as I'm concerned, for probably the last at least 5 years, with dealings we've had with him, he's been the best motor grader operator in the county that I've seen. That he's been the best one on the grader. And Lane's been with the city of LaBelle for several years, and he's still there to amplify you, so there must not be too much wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Greenlee. And finally, Wayne Rudd, Eastern District Commission candidate. Your turn to tell us something positive about your competition.
Well, I know all these guys. I know George real well. He's been working in LaBelle a lot, off and on, and they're all a bunch of good guys. I mean, never had a problem with any of them.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. And to conclude this forum, 1 minute will be given to each candidate to speak freely. And Mr. Rudd, we're going to start with you, Wayne Rudd, Eastern District Commission candidate. You have 1 minute to tell us whatever you want to tell us.
Well, like I say, I worked at LaBelle for going on 32 years, and I'm thinking about hanging that up, and I always want to get in with the county and learn more about it, see how things work and all that, so that's why I signed up. So maybe I've talked to a lot of people, and the biggest concern is roads. Roads and bridges is what we're talking about, so I hope we get something improved back in.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. John Greenlee, Eastern District Commission candidate. You have 1 minute.
I've like I said, been a farmer all my life. I'm farming anywhere from Knox City to Novelty. I travel the roads daily, multiple roads, gravel, blacktop. There's a lot of room for improvement for there, but it's not all about roads and bridges. There's either looking after all of our employees, our equipment, maintaining our budget, looking after everybody in the courthouse, and take criticism from the citizens. It's their money, and we work for them.
Thank you, Mr. Greenlee. Harley Hamlin, you have 1 minute to respond tonight.
I was gonna tell you that the people at the courthouse need to all get along, and another thing, I'm willing to go out, counties working out on the roads and stuff, and check them out. And if something comes up that I don't think's right for taxpayers, I'm not afraid to say no.
Thank you, Mr. Hanlon. Luther Green, Western District Commission candidate, you have 1 minute.
I give 100% to all these guys that want to get up here and go, because I know them all a lot. So, yeah, I'm proud of them getting up there and trying to do something for the county.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Bill Wiles, Western District Commission candidate, you have 1 minute.
First, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who came tonight. Thank you to you, John, for doing this, and Echo for helping, the radio. I also just like to say that I spent the last 20 years of my adult life in this community serving. That's been my passion, whether it be first responder or city civic duties. I've always strived to do what is right and what I thought was best for the county in every situation, and I would continue to do that, and I would appreciate your vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wiles. George Sparks, Western District Commission candidate, you have 1 minute.
I'd like to say I got a birthday coming up. I'll be 60 in 9 days. And I'd just like to tell everybody that I'll do a good job. I'll try to be fair, honest, and I like to do business with people in this county. And I got broad shoulders, and I think I can stand up to the job.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. David Sharp, Western District Commission candidate, you have 1 minute.
First of all, thanks to everybody. Thanks to people listening on KMEM radio. I do appreciate my colleagues, my journalistic colleagues that are bringing all this to the county, those of you who could not be here. In short summary, as short as I can, I've studied politics and government for 5 years of my life, okay? This is an experience that I always wanted. I always wanted to run for public office. I didn't want to go to my grave thinking that I never used my political science degree that my family helped pay for and that the government helped pay for. And with your vote, we will try that, and I hope it works out for everybody. Thank you. I yield back my time.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Jesse Sparks, Republican candidate for sheriff, you have 1 minute.
Thank you all for coming out. So I'm a single dad of 2 kids, girlfriend, so we have 4 kids together. I'm very youth active right now with youth baseball teams and the youth softball teams. So you're watching all the younger generation growing up. I just want a safe and secure environment for them to grow up in. This community's been wide arms open to me since I've only been here, for 3 years. Everybody's been very welcoming. So yeah, I just want something to grow old in and have them be safe and secure when they get older.
Thank you, Mr. Sparks. Carl Kanaki, Republican candidate for sheriff, you have 1 minute.
I'm the best candidate to continue the job that I currently hold. I took this job a year and a half ago and nobody else wanted it. I have made great strides in this department through the use of my contacts that I have made through my law enforcement administration and working relationships with current county officials. My leadership through major disasters such as the Barron tornado, such as the LaGrange Brandon collapse, my lead investigations from simple civil disputes all the way up to including murder, taking cases to the federal level. My overall experience, my years of service, my hundreds of hours of training, including field training officer, first line supervision, command training, makes me the best candidate for this job. Moving forward, appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mr. Kanaki. And finally tonight, Quentin Dalton, independent sheriff's candidate, you have 1 minute.
Knox County is my home. I'm proud of that, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Everybody up here on the stage, I have the greatest deal of respect for it. It takes a lot to come up here and do this. And last but not least, I'd like to thank John and Echo for giving me the opportunity to not speak tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dalton, and that concludes our 2024 Knox County Candidate Forum. On behalf of the Edina Sentinel, Hometown Radio Group 100.5 KMEM FM, and KTVO News, I'm John Garlock. Thanks for listening. Thanks for participating.